Today, we're going to chat about the second part of getting deeper onto level funding, and that is specifics and aggregate contracts. Now, in level funding with ATA and most everybody else I know of, contracts are written on a 12-month basis. There are a couple exceptions, but almost never is there an exception. You have a 12-month basis of incurred dates. These dates are the dates in which a plan can have a claim, go through its proper adjudication process, and then say, yeah, that's valid. Let's get it paid. But there's a difference between those two terms. There's the incurred date and the paid date. There's also one other piece that's kind of hidden. And for the smart folks out there, you already know what I'm talking about. We're talking about IBNR, incurred but not reported. Whenever claims are consumed or care is consumed at a hospital, there is a lag between when it is consumed and when the institution tells us about it. Now, you might think as a broker or business owner that that lag is very short. And most time it is, but sometimes it's not. It can be weeks and sometimes months before the hospital actually says, hey, they consume this, pay us. That window in between time is called IBNR, and that is one of the big issues that these contracts seek to address and do a pretty good job of addressing. So to cover what we've chatted about, there is the incurred date and the paid date. Now, the example on your screen right now is a 12/15, and folks, it is as short as I would recommend. For the average broker out there, there are some master level brokers who do 12/12s. That is level funding 404. That is a senior level course. It's a way to save a couple more points on good years, but it is not for everybody. So if you're looking to do a 12/12, give me a call. I'll try to talk you out of it. But for the brokers out there who've been doing this as long as we have, it still does make sense in some situations. And we can still play with you, but realize there's more moving pieces when you go that way. But in general, 12/15s would be a short acceptable contract. Some PPOs don't allow this, or in my opinion, don't allow for it, as they allow for rebilling for a longer period of time than 3 months. So you want to run it a little longer. 12/18s and 12/24s have become the industry standards depending on where and who you're playing with. And what that means is you have 12 months to incur a claim and then 18 months to tell us about it. With that, on certain PPOs, they have up to 12 months to rebill. Now, ignoring the side of things that says that's crazy that somebody can change their bill 12 months after the fact, which I would agree with you, you want to protect your plan and your client, and so you want to marry those two things, even if the PPO contract is a little weird. So with that in mind, these are the standard contracts that probably 98% of the market plays with. There are a couple other ones, but they are the exception, not the rule. Next, some of the fun stuff. Now, this is going to seem like it's 404 class, right? But this is more like level funding 201. We're going to cover it in the general level, but the deeper you get here, man, the more exciting level funding gets. I know I'm kind of a nerdy guy about this stuff, but a lot of the juice, a lot of the goodness, a lot of the value in level funding is right out here on this page. So you have the accommodation and the stop loss and the claims account that makes something a level funded plan. And whenever you run it that way, it is the simplest way to do things. It is the easiest way, and most brokers and clients can understand that. But it's not the only way. There's other ways to do it. Minimum funded groups are another way to do it. Now, what does that mean? Well, a minimum funded group says that we're going to pay our fixed cost every month, but we're going to wait until claims come in, and we're going to accept that volatility. Now, Tom, we're dealing with Main Street here. Why are we doing that? Well, there's planned surpluses. Whenever groups run well, and in general, historically, groups with ATA on traditional programs, about 70% do, they have monies left over. You can utilize the monies from previous years to give the business owner and its members a bit of a premium holiday or a bit of a cost reduction during that time frame. That's beautiful. You're able to show them that you've moved the money to class 3 or class 1, depending on the member. You're able to show them deep value by doing it this way. Now, it's more complicated, and the broker has to understand. But by doing this, you really highlight it, and you start to change the incentives inside of care consumption. You start to show them with their own money why it's actually better. Now, with that, ATA can facilitate this. You need to make a request over to our finance team, and they'll send out a request form. You got to sign off, but it makes it pretty easy. And in doing that, you're showing deeper value to each one of the clients and showing them just how they're keeping their money on Main Street with them rather than sending it off to Wall Street or some fully insured carrier where it's lost in the ether, right? It's their money. And this shows them how to use it appropriately and deeply. Now, we've covered a bunch so far. The things that you need to remember in general about level funding is level funding is self-funding. It sits under the exact same governing docs. Level funding sits under ERISA, but level funding is designed for small group. Level funding takes a bit of the variability and volatility out of a self-funded program that mid-caps and large companies use and adds a couple of pieces to it. One, it adds accommodation. Two, it adds stop loss with runout. Three, it has a claims fund that is their money. So if you add those three things together and you have an ERISA compliant plan, in my opinion, you got a level funded plan. It looks and feels the same. They pay the same amount. If their census doesn't change, they pay the same amount every month, and they are entitled to the stop loss protection, the aggregate accommodations, and it's still their money in the claims account. By doing it this way, they're able to set up their own program. Instead of sending profits over to Wall Street, they're able to keep profits or additional monies reserved for the future plans of their employees, of their members. Now that future plan and the future needs of those monies sit here in the plan surplus. This is another beautiful part of level funding. Whenever the monies inside of a plan are non-utilized and the contract runout period is up, remember 1218, 1224, those monies are free. Free to be used inside of a benefit trust agreement for the welfare of all the members of that plan or that company. Now with that, what can you use them on? Well, Mr. Savvy Broker, you can give them a premium holiday. You can ask the business owner, hey, are you still having retention problems? Let's design something better. Let's give them more benefits. Let's give them dental, vision, life. Let's add an HRA. Let's do a gap program. It's the plan's money, and it has to be used on employee welfare. So you're in a position where you can add additional widgets to protect the employer from losing his best people with money that would have gone to Wall Street in the past is now staying with Main Street. You're providing that bridge, Mr. Broker. You're the one who's now providing additional value for no additional cash flow in a lot of situations for those plan owners. In that moment, if you're not asking for referrals, if you're not producing a flywheel of new business, then you shouldn't be in sales. The long and the short of level funding in a traditional way is that it is better for the client in the long run, and it's also better for the broker in the long run because they're able to set up a flywheel where they can help more and more people change the class of money from type 4 to type 3 to type 2 to type 1, find more utility, more value into the right direction. The noble broker does this, whether they know it or not. And we need more of this inside of our marketplace so that we can start to bend the cost curve and get Main Street a fighting chance against the consolidating impulses of the Wall Street types. On the plans that the brokers put together, we have many different options. We have PPOs, both national, regional, even local, different PBMs that we can play with. We can do dual and triple option, different group sizes. We have RBP, and it works in some places it doesn't. Give marketing services a call, and we'll give you kind of a disruption report. And we also can administer HRAs. If you don't know what an HRA is, think about it like a gap program that you're using previous year's money to self-fund. So the cost of it only exists insofar as it pays claims. If there's no claims, there's no cost. That's beautiful. Now you got to do the inside of an HRA with ATA. You have to produce the plan docs, so you got to pay an attorney $500 or so. But folks, we try to make this as good for Main Street as possible. The long-term value is the long-term good. For whatever reason, we've shifted in our marketplace to short-term. Well, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority of the marketplace, it's time to pause and reflect. A little Mark Twain for you. If you're in that world where you're selling short-term instead of long-term value, it might work in the short run. But folks, we don't want to be in this industry or this career for the next 2 years or 3 years. I got 25 years left on my career. This is my desk. This is where I'm sitting. This is who I'm trying to help. So if you want to come with us, this is how we see level funding. We do from 5 to 99. We serve Main Street and putting them in the same regulatory body to take advantage of the exact same options that Wall Street has for decades. And we keep the money there. It's a real simple process to get started. It has a real simple screen, a real simple presentation. There's two components, A and B. When you look at it, you have your fixed cost and then your claims account. We call it the max ag deductible or max aggregate deductible. If you go back to the previous video, all of the money in that claims account, if there are no claims, is the plans with ATA. We are 100% level funded. That is their money. It stays their money, and it allows the broker to be the hero and the long-term prescriber of solutions to try to get your clients off the flywheel of bigger and bigger renewals by changing the class of money and keeping money where it belongs in the pockets of Main Street instead of the consolidating impulse of Wall Street. Here's a QR code to get started, and our email is here as well. We're here. If you're a guy, you're a gal out there fighting for your clients, and you want a better way than just cutting checks to a fully insured carrier that the money disappears with, we're here. We have been for half a century, and I'll be here for another 25 years. We'll see you in a bit.